Well, let's shift our focus now to the Conservative Party leadership race, and one of the candidates viewed as one of the front runners. He's former Cabinet Minister, Ontario MP Erin O'Toole, and he joins me now from Toronto. Mr. O'Toole, good to see you again. Thanks for taking time to speak with me today.
Good to be back.
You and Peter MacKay and Marilyn Gladu have all said your first order of business in the fall, if you are chosen Conservative leader, would be to move a motion of non-confidence in the Trudeau government. Why is that your number one priority?
Well, I think everyone needs to show that Canada and the world is losing confidence in Mr. Trudeau. Mr. Buffett's withdrawal of his investments from Canada is a sign that under the Liberals, there's no confidence in Canada's economy. There's no confidence in maintaining the rule of law. There's certainly no confidence in the Conservative opposition in their ability to turn things around. So we will have the vote and we will start a report card. And every time we're showing a lack of confidence on key issues for Canadians, we will keep score of that and we'll show that scorecard in the next election, Peter, and replace this government and get Canada back on track.
When you're watching what we're seeing today, a meltdown in the markets, dropping oil prices, real concern in the country about the coronavirus outbreak and about its effect on the economy. What are you thinking as you watch this? Do you drop this at the feet of the government, or is this one of those things that no government can expect? You can prepare for it, but it's not of the government's doing, is it?
No, but what I was thinking, Peter, was it's too bad they were spending out of control and being reckless with our economy when times were good over the last few years, because we're now not ready for a global recession. Certainly, I don't think they've been as proactive as needed on the coronavirus. I put out a policy a week ago that I think they should have adopted with respect to certain flights from critical countries, using the EI system to allow people to self-quarantine and promoting that. So I have some complaints, but certainly this is a global crisis. The economic crisis that's resulting means that Canada should be prepared, and we haven't been because of reckless spending, uncompetitive actions in our resource industry and other core sectors of our economy. So we're weak now going into a recession, and then we didn't need to be. It was the poor decisions of Mr. Trudeau and his government.
I wanted to walk through some of the things you've been talking about in the leadership race. You've said if you become Prime Minister, you'll invoke the notwithstanding clause to override the courts to impose mandatory minimum sentences for serious crimes. Why do you believe that's an appropriate use of the notwithstanding clause?
Because that's exactly what the premiers and the leaders that created our modern Constitution required, was that from time to time, when there needs to be a balance between decisions of the court and Parliament can reign supreme. Several provinces have used it in limited measures. This is a case where we're talking about use of a weapon committing violence against another citizen. So I think the public policy objective of denunciating that conduct, of protection of the public, Peter, is more important, and Parliament can exert that will to say, look, we're going to attach minimum sentences to show the severity of these crimes when an illegal handgun or weapon is used.
Okay, so
it's an appropriate use of the power.
Where do you draw the line there? What if party members, for instance, Conservative Party members, pressed you to use that notwithstanding clause to override a court ruling, for instance, on gay or same-sex rights?
I would never use it to overturn a right. Been absolutely clear. Let's not be afraid of this tool in our Constitution, Peter, for using public policy decisions where Parliament can say, look, the courts have struck this down widely. We're going to bring it back for only narrow provisions where there's a violent act perpetrated or smuggling of illegal weapons and using and trafficking illegal weapons. We think public safety, we think denouncing that conduct is paramount. But in my leadership, it would never be used with respect to a human right. In fact, my record as a parliamentarian has always been in favor of voting for human rights, and that will be the way I approach leading the party.
Okay, let's go from that to how will you deal with social conservatives in the caucus and or the party that may want you to reopen the debate on abortion or reopen the debate on same-sex marriage? How will you deal with that?
Well, first of all, we deal with different points of view in politics with respect, Peter, and our party was forged on the ability for people to bring their various perspectives from cultural or religious backgrounds to Parliament. Parliament means to speak, Parlement. We should be able to bring those views, but do it in a way that's respectful. As leader, I've always said we need to respect human rights and decisions of the court. I have voted that way for 7 years, sometimes being in the minority of voting positions. But I've tried to say that we need to respect liberty, human rights, and the rule of law.
So to be clear, you're prepared to have members express those points of view, but a government led by Erin O'Toole, you're saying will never reopen the abortion debate, never reopen the same-sex marriage debate. Is that fair?
As a government, no, absolutely not. But within that, you can have a debate on a range of issues that people might bring forward from a social conservative or faith perspective. I voted for a law called Cassie and Molly's Law, for example, that was with respect to the sentencing surrounding an attack on a pregnant woman. You know, some people talked a lot about life issues with that bill. At its heart, it was also a public safety bill. And as long as we have good debates, we've seen good debates in the House of Commons on assisted dying 4 years ago. I think you followed that debate closely, where MPs respectfully brought their points of view. What I don't like about society today, and I've been challenging this, is increasingly many voices on the left are suggesting that if you disagree with them on anything, you're a bad person. And that's cancel culture that I've disagreed with for many years. We have a democracy. We should have a respectful and healthy debate and recognize that people will bring issues to Parliament. And if it's done respectfully, we can have debates. But for me, I've always been clear when it comes to human rights.
Okay.
I stand for them. I defended them in uniform.
Why do you think Peter MacKay is the wrong choice to lead the Conservatives?
I think that you look at the crisis we're facing right now with the global economy, you look at the illegal blockades, you look at the new threats in the world with respect to Russia and emergent China. We don't need to go backwards as a party, in my view. Peter's a good friend. He served very ably as defense minister, but I wore a uniform of service. So I'm not a career politician, Peter. I served 12 years in the military, 10 years in the private sector. I worked with job creators. I understand the economy. We need someone to get this country moving again. We need someone that will stand up for the rule of law. We need someone that will unite this country, which was not divided when the Conservatives were last in government. And now we have a resurgent Bloc Québécois, right, and we have a Wexit movement and a Prime Minister who seems to be on holidays half the time. So we need to get serious.
But all those things you've mentioned, specifically, what is it about Peter MacKay and what you've heard him say that contributes to any of those failings you've just mentioned?
I don't think Peter brings the skill set or the ability to unite the country at a time it needs to be. The fact that Jason Kenney, the Premier of Alberta, knows that I can do that, knows that my background, the fact that I worked in the energy industry before I joined the military, I've always stood up for our resource sectors and jobs, the fact that I've lived across this country, I speak French, all the elements that I think are critical for our next leader to not just keep our party united, we need to keep the country united, and that's why I'm running.
But do you think he's too much of some people, do you think he would take the party too much to the left? Is that the problem? Peter MacKay's a lefty?
He'll have to articulate what he wants to do. He's changed his position on a few issues, even in the course of the 2 months of this race so far. So I don't think Peter has been clear about where he would be as Conservative leader. I'll leave that to him. I've been very clear throughout my political career where I'm at on issues. I am a proud Conservative. I've fought on a range of issues from military and veterans to foreign affairs, public safety, and certainly the economy. I think with this sort of age of disruption, the uncertainty we're in, the disunity we're in, we need a doer, not just a sort of a career politician.
I guess what I'm getting at is what have you heard from Peter MacKay that you think makes him less of a Conservative?
Peter is a good Conservative. He led the Progressive Conservative Party, Peter, 17 years ago. I've only been in politics 7 years, but the country and the issues we're facing is for the new generation. I don't think we need to go back. I also think it's difficult when you're not in the House of Commons. I can move a few seats over and hold Justin Trudeau to account on day one. Okay. I can actually bring the vote of non-confidence in the House of Commons. Peter will have that challenge. So he's my friend. I respect him, but I don't think he has the skills needed at this critical time for our country.
A couple of quick things to finish on the minute or so we have left here. We've heard your messaging to the grassroots, and I get that's good for the base you already have. But what is your plan to grow the party with more voters in the middle who've supported Conservatives in the past? Aren't they really the people you need to win over if you're going to form government?
Well, we need to win more seats in my region of the country, the 905, in the 416, the GTA. We will. I've won 3 times here in the 905. I've got roots across this country from my military service. I think I have the ability to win. I'm also going to go after NDP seats, Peter, because in Windsor, in Hamilton, You know, the NDP doesn't stand for working people anymore. They're a social movement. They are supporting the blockades and the illegal protests. We need people to be able to provide for their family, to work, to value hard work. And anyone's going to be welcome in my Conservative Party if they want to build this great country. And whether they voted NDP in the past, Liberal in the past, I'm going to be reaching out to them. We're going to grow a big blue tent and we're going to win.
Okay, very quickly, you're rolling out your platform later this week, as I understand. What are you going to be saying about climate change? Because that was clearly an issue for the party in the last election. What are you going to be proposing? Or maybe you don't want to give me that today, but give me some sense of the direction you think a Conservative government will take fighting climate change under your leadership.
Under my leadership, we will have a plan out early. It will be an effective plan to get emissions down, and we will defend it. I think we launched our plan way too late, and we allowed our opponents to say we had no plan, we were deniers. I did environmental work as a lawyer. These issues are important to me, Peter. I will also respect provincial plans. As the court has recently said, the carbon tax top-down approach the Trudeau government has used is actually unconstitutional. So respecting the provincial plans.
In fairness, that's one court out of three. In fairness,
yeah, it's my assessment too.
Okay.
I also think Bill C-69 is unconstitutional, and 9 out of 10 premiers asked the Prime Minister not to pass it. You wonder where the national unity crisis came from? It's quite simple: Justin Trudeau. So we need to address the things he's done to destabilize our economy. But I will have a climate change plan that works on large emitters, getting them down on a targeted schedule, Peter, without economic disruption. That's where we have to come up with smart policy. And I brought some out a few years ago. Stay tuned for our policy launch at erinO'Toole.ca.
All right, Erin O'Toole, good to talk to you again. We'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thank you.